Hey everybody, so Silver Scorpion here. Just wanted to give a quick show on how to scrap a microwave. Um, so I just took the screws, all the screws on the outside off, pulled the cover off. I cut the power cord off of it. You have brass in the end of those, so you want to keep those. The wire that's in the power cord is worth money if you're scrapping. All these little wires in here, you keep. It's worth money if you're scrapping. I've already disconnected down here. This holds power, and this little silver thing down here in the bottom, so that's always the first thing you disconnect before you start messing with this stuff, because you get a hold of something and it can light you up. Microwaves have a really high voltage once they've passed through your transformer here, so you always want to make sure you disconnect that before you do anything. Alright, so I had it pause for a minute. This is called a capacitor, in case anybody is questioning. So most people short those out prong to prong just to make sure there's no discharge. I've taken a bunch of these screws out when I had it paused. Different people do these different ways. Everybody's got their own way about them. These thick wires right here, I'll probably take your time to strip just to get the max amount of money for them. Normally I just kind of go through and cut all the ends off of stuff just to get it apart fast. Get all kinds of different components in here, sensors, stuff like that, and I'll just cut them free, set everything aside, then I'll go back later and actually finish taking the stuff apart. Here's your light bulb for inside the microwave. All these little connectors and ends I keep. Some stuff, especially when you're working with circuit boards, these are not, but some of them are gold plated. Your fuses actually have silver in them if you know how to break them down and take care of them. All these little connectors right here, I melt metal and stuff, so I can take all these, throw them in, melt them down, or I can just throw them in as scrap. So it's not something, when you're scrapping stuff, you don't really have to be too awful particular. You can just grab it and yank it out. Your switches, they also, any of your contacts like that in a switch or whatever, they are normally coated with silver for the main contacts. This right here is what actually does the cooking of your food, emits the radiation or whatever. There's two magnets on here, and I'll take it out and show it to you here in a minute, but the stuff that's between the two magnets you have to be careful with on this part. These transformers down here, you can take those, you can actually weld stuff with them. Trying to think of an example I can give you, and I can't really think of one off the top of my head, but yeah, you can weld things if you connect it up right, and that can become pretty useful. But like I said, all my little components and stuff, I just stack them up here and go back through them a little bit later, because I can do different things with this, that, and the other, and all that. So basically I just cut all the wires on the connections, rip those out real quick. That's the majority of your wires that you get out over there on the table. The piece I told you is this right here. There is other things you can do with these, but you need to be careful and make sure you know what you're doing, because they're a little bit dangerous. That's what emits that radiation and all that stuff. So you got a brass ring here. It's actually kind of soft. On the inside, all this is aluminum, and you can see there's a magnet in the front and a magnet in the back. In between these two is that pink stuff. You don't want to scratch that pink stuff off. If you inhale it, it's really not a very good time. So you got to be real careful of that when you're taking all these pieces off and separating it. Prying this stuff apart right here to get the cap off and all. but I wanted to show that to y'all because that's one of your dangerous things in your microwave, and then your capacitor down here is dangerous. You got a fan back here, and most time if you've taken all the screws out, then that'll come out. There's a fan in the back you can take out. You got copper coil here. The rest of this kind of goes as heavy metal. Better look at the transformer. It was loose because I took all the screws out of it. A lot of times you've got an aluminum coil of wire and a copper coil of wire. Sometimes they're both aluminum, sometimes they're both copper. You have to check them and see. You also have to figure out how to get those bad boys apart. On top of that, up here in the front, this is all your door switches and stuff like that. You can pull those out, pull the little contacts out if you feel like messing with that. A lot of people don't even mess with it. There's normally some type of electronics up here for your keypad, and I'm going to take a little break and I'll show that stuff to you once I get it out.
Go.
Alright, so I went ahead, took this panel off here. It was only one screw. There's a screw in the center here on this. Learning to take these off, and they're all different. Some of them you squeeze, some of them you don't. Some of them have gold on the end of them, or silver. Some of them don't, just all depends. Like I said, you don't have to be pretty about it, but you can get money for circuit boards and you take them to the scrapyard. The more stuff you leave on them, the more money you get. The more you depopulate, it changes which pay grade they give you. So you've got like the lowest, the mid, and then if you haven't taken anything off, you get the highest price for it. But again, sometimes there's stuff on there you won't. A lot of your connectors have gold. Your switches have silver. If I pull this off, those look copper or brass. Sometimes there's IC chips on here you want, like I'll probably want that one right there. So you just take off what you need and leave the rest. That way you get the most money that you can, but at the same time you don't want to be throwing money to them because they know what they're doing when they're undoing all that stuff. So I mean, that's basically that. Your front panel up here, oops, threw that in the wrong spot. This is where I put all my screws and stuff as I'm taking stuff apart, because that's all scrap metal. It's money. So this panel right here, you can get up underneath it and pull it off and keep it. Most of the time between your buttons, just like computer keyboards, that bottom one, last row between them is silver, where they touch each other. So you want to normally hold on to that. Sometimes this is got metal on here. I think those are plastic though. These go with the wire that you do or don't want, just depending on what you're trying to accomplish. About the only other thing left on here that I haven't showed y'all was down here on the bottom. There's always a turntable motor. Those can be used for a whole lot of different things. Some people will pull them out, strip the copper out of them for top dollar copper. It's a pretty good amount in there when you get to pulling it out. I mean, you can run across your yard and probably back before it runs out of copper. But at the same time, you can just throw it in as a motor and get money for it. You can also take these and use them for projects, because you know how the speed that turntable turns inside a microwave. So you can put your little metal piece or cut a groove in a round piece of wood or square or whatever you're trying to work on. If you're carving stuff or painting stuff, you can attach this motor to the bottom, because that's a 120 volt motor. It's not, you know, the voltage isn't knocked down, so you can plug this straight into the wall and it'll run just like it's supposed to. It's actually set for 120 volts. So if you're painting something, spray painting, and it's turning it slow for you, it's helpful. Or you can use it to make displays and stuff. Something sitting in the cabinet that you want people to see. They're pretty easy to take out. In my experience on microwaves, this is normally the first thing to go. So if you test it and it's no good, then it's no good. But I mean, just like that, it comes right out. No big deal. If you want the copper out of it, you just stick something down in here and pop it apart. Pull your copper out. If you want to throw it in with motors, just like it is. So that's basically it on the microwave. It's not a whole awful lot to it. If there's stainless steel on the front, you can pull that off because you get a different price for that than just regular metal. And that's it. If y'all have any questions, drop it in the comments, and we will catch y'all next time.